Good evening, everybody. Greetings and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here with Commonalities Compared. This is a show I do every Sunday night, in which my subscriber friend Ben, he gives me two musical commonalities to compare. Usually they can be two albums or two bands or two guitar players or two producers that have something in common, and then I just talk about them. Basically, that's what I do. So tonight he's given me two bands, and the two bands he's given to me are these two bands, the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan. Sorry, once again, it's backwards. At some point, I'm going to figure this out. It's basically just time oriented, getting it down to doing that. So the two bands, for me, they have a kind of, the things that are common about them, first of all, is that they're both kind of poppy. They both have some jazzy elements to their music. They both have some bluesy stuff to their music. They both have some jump up type sound to their music. Both of them were pretty big in the 70s. Not huge, but big. And they both had a fair number of radio stable hits, just a lot of similarities that way about them. Some of the differences are, for me anyways, I find the Doobies are have a little bit more of that southern kind of sound to their music, like you might find with the Allman Brothers or Leonard Skinner. They don't really sound like either of those bands, but they have a little bit of that flavor to their music, where I don't think Steely Dan has much of that. Yeah, they have a little bluesy element to the music, but I never think of Steely Dan as being a southern band. The music is well written. Topics, they choose a variety of topics, some love topics, some different kind of stuff going on. I prefer Steely Dan quite a bit, actually. At one time, it would have been the opposite. So the Doobie Brothers were the band I was introduced to first. I've been listening to them since probably late 70s, early 80s. One of my favorite songs by them is China Grove, fantastic tune. Where Steely Dan has only come on the scene for me really in the past probably 3 or 4 years. Before that, I had known some of their stuff, like Nicky, don't lose that number, or Ricky, don't lose that number. I will get it right eventually. And there was a couple of other songs that I was familiar with, but I never really listened to them. I didn't even know for the most part that they were even Steely Dan back then. So this is a band that has come on greatly for me. I probably have about 6 or maybe 7 of their albums now, where the Doobie Brothers, other than this greatest hit, I only have two of their studio albums. The greatest hits was good enough for me. It had all the songs I like on it. China Grove, Taken to the Streets, Listen to the Music, Blackwater, Jesus Is Just All Right. Those are the big tracks for me, and they're all on this album, so that's why I chose to get it. This one here is a fantastic album. Do It Again. Not as many hits on this album, but a lot of the stuff is really good. The deep cuts are better here. And this is when they were actually really a full band with Skunk Baxter, Walter Becker, Denny Diaz, Donald Fagen, David Palmer, and Jim Hodder, all in this band. Where with the Doobies, this is the greatest hit, so it's probably got everything on it that from a lot of the early stuff. This one by Ted Templeton producing it, and I believe this one was Gary Katz. Yeah, so a lot of very similar sounds at times between the two. Like there's a lot of crossover between their music. I find Steely Dan a little bit more jazzy. They have a little more jazzy sound. I think the instrumentals on Steely Dan are a little bit better too, because Steely Dan used a lot of people. Maybe not so much on this album, but on other later albums, they used a lot of different people to play in their music. And they basically became pretty much a studio band. Whereas with Doobie Brothers, they toured quite a bit and did a lot of stuff. And I think both bands, don't think either band is making anything anymore, although the Doobies might still be making some. I'm not 100% sure. So anyways, those are the two bands that Ben gave me to talk about, Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers. So how do you guys feel about them? Do you like them both? Do you think they're different? Do you think they're the same? Do you think they have a lot in common? You can make all those comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. And we'll be back next week with Commonalities Compared, featuring some other commonality compared. Last week's was really good. It did almost 1,000 views now between Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins. It kind of surprised me that it did that well, but I guess people wanted to check them out. They're both still fairly popular, and as far as I know, Peter Gabriel made an album this year, but I don't think Phil Collins has made anything for quite some time. Anyways, take care, and we will see you next week. Good night.